I love that. Zoom tells us these days when it's being recorded. Before, it never used to do that.
Yeah, they probably got lawsuits. It was probably somebody trying to say, oh, well, I didn't know. So now it's like, it's telling you, you have to accept it. No, you're not getting one over us on us, bitch. You knew you were being recorded.
Well, we are definitely recording, and welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I've got a great guest today, DJ Beanz. DJ Beanz, you've been in the industry for a while now. You're absolutely smashing it in the game, and you've got your project that came out in 2020, Deadly Venoms, as well. So that obviously takes like a Wu-Tang inspired feel on there as well. You can definitely feel the samples and where the inspirations come from. But definitely one of those ones to check out. And you've done tours with like Method Man, Redman, and some real greats. Obviously, you've worked with Edo, Terminology as well. So the list goes on and on. So, I mean, how's it feel? You've been nominated for awards as well. Like, you must just look back on your career and go, I can't even imagine how I started to get to where it is right now.
Well, thank you. First of all, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate that because, yeah, I mean, the awards and everything spanned further back. I'd say, towards the beginning, not the beginning of my career, but really the peak of my career. I've been doing this for about 20 years. At one point, I was nominated for 13 awards, and I was constantly on the road, constantly on tour. I miss that aspect because, unfortunately, times have changed. Things are so much different now. But that was definitely my favorite part of my career throughout those days and everything. So I'm honored. I was up against so many legendary DJs for a lot of these awards. Out of all of them, I've only won maybe 2 or 3, but super honored. It's one of those, it's an honor to be nominated every single time. It felt really good. And yeah, like touring is something that I had to work my way up to, obviously, but that is my favorite part of everything, is getting to see. I haven't been out of the country yet. I'm hoping as things open back up, I'll be overseas and everything. But it's just beautiful to be able to get paid, first of all, to do what you love and to travel. Even in the times I wasn't really getting paid like that, still just being able to do what I love and hitting the road. And all of these people that I've gotten to work with, it's been an honor. Definitely never thought in my days, when I was listening to these artists, driving my piece of shit car when gas was 99 cents a gallon and stuff like that, to be working with them and stuff like that now is a super blessing. It's been amazing.
So what is it about touring? Is it the energy? Is it the hustle? Like, what is it that gets you going? Is it the crowd? Like, do you have a reason why it just is your favorite part of it?
I would definitely say it's definitely the live part of it, and knowing that you're a part of and being in control of something that used to be my favorite thing to do, would be to be in the crowd and seeing my favorite artists on stage. So for me, it's being able to work with the artists to bring that to life for the fans. So when we rehearse and stuff like that, and we're putting stuff together just to know this is what they want, this is going to make them go crazy, we're giving them what they paid for and then some. So it's super exhilarating. You never know what to expect. It's different every single time. So you can put a set together and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this crowd is not what I thought it was going to be. And you have to go completely different. So it's a high, you know what I mean? It's something that for me, no drug could ever provide what I feel when I'm on stage. And especially when I'm on stage with these artists and you just see the crowd go crazy and you see them spitting things bar for bar, and my part being able to get the crowd hyped up for that artist to come on the stage. It's just a feeling that I can never feel from anywhere else. It's amazing.
So interesting, because like I look at a DJ's job at the beginning to like hype the crowd, and I'm like, that looks like a tough job, because I remember being in concerts and I'm just waiting for the actual artist rather than anything else. Like that's what I'm just going like, I'm okay. I get it, but like, I'm just counting down. But how do you build the anticipation without the crowd getting like, all right, I've had enough. Just bring out whoever we got to bring out.
That right there is one of the biggest challenges. And that's something that definitely comes along with experience. A lot of people, believe it or not, I had the worst mic fright of my life at the beginning of my career. And this is actually, it's a really fun story. So I'll go ahead, I'll tell the story briefly before I get into it. So I had a really good friend who was a DJ. His name, shout out to Donnie. He was from Boston, but I met him in Virginia. And he was helping me out when it was coming to, getting my stage presence up, stuff like that. So it came to a point, I had wrote this fire rap that these people wanted me to get on. And when we went to the studio, I got behind the mic and I froze. I couldn't do it, not even just around my friends and stuff like that. So then after that, we had a show one night and I was DJing and he was like, hey, get the crowd hype. And I was like, I'm not getting on that mic. I was petrified. I was so scared. So basically we ended up going out to, huh?
You remember why you were scared? Like, what was it that?
I don't know. Because my whole life, people have told me I have a voice for radio and stuff like that. I don't know what it was. I guess it's some sort of stage fright that I clearly don't have anymore. And I still always get that anxiety before I go up on the stage. And I believe it was Chuck D who said, once you lose that feeling of anxiety and the anticipation, you've lost your passion for it. So it's okay. So I stopped feeling so bad about it. But panic mode, I don't know. Back in the day, I used to hate hearing my voice on an answering machine and stuff like that. So I really don't know. I just know I would get in front of that mic and I would just be petrified. I couldn't speak. Me, of all people, if people who know me in real life, even then, they were like, what the hell? Like, how the fuck can you not get on a mic? So I don't know what it was, but we went out to West Virginia to a strip club one night. And he was like, all right, come on, you're going to work. And I looked at him like, excuse me? Like, what the fuck do you think this is? I'm going to work. And he was like, if you don't just shut up. So, we went in there and he's like, all right, come with me. So he introduces me to the manager and he was like, oh, this is her. And he was like, yeah. And I'm sitting there like shaking my head, getting ready to punch him in the face. Like, does he think I'm about to go strip? Like, what's about to happen here? So the manager pulls me up into the booth and he's like, okay, so, here's your turntables. Here's the list of the girls. Here's the songs that they want. Every 20 minutes, you got to announce this. You have to announce the girls' names. And I said, oh, I see what's going on here. So he just looks at me. He's like, are you ready? And I just looked at Donnie and he was like, she's ready. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. I was so mad. I was sitting there shaking. The night went by. It was just a blur. And, it was I had to make the announcements like, you have a truck in the parking lot with you, with the lights on. And of course, I got a Boston accent too on top of that. So I had to focus on enunciating and getting the girls' names right and all that stuff. The end of the night, all the girls were like coming up into the booth and shit and tipping me mad money. And they were like, yo, you're the first DJ we've ever had that we could understand what they were saying. You sounded so good. And it got me hyped up. So I did that for a couple of weekends. Before you know it, there I am, the mic fright's gone. And, I start doing more radio shows and stuff like that. And that's where, DJ Beanz, the personality, starts coming out a little bit. So as that plays into the shows, that still comes with experience. So now I'm over my mic fright. I'm comfortable on the mic. I'm able to talk to the crowd. As I do shows more and more, I start realizing, crowd engagement is it's important. So the worst experience I ever went through was on the Smokers Club tour. And in Chicago, I was opening up with Wise P from the Rangers. And this place was packed. And I mean packed. So I'm getting ready, do my little thing and announce shit on the mic. And this crowd is so quiet. When I tell you, it's like crickets in there. So I'm already shitting myself. And I go to say something, and all of a sudden somebody in the crowd just yells, "We kill Boston DJs." And I was like, oh shit. So just on a whim, I was like, well, at least you know who I am. And second of all, this is the Smokers Club tour. So somebody pass him the blunt and let's go. And Wise came out, and thank God he had shit like shirts to throw to the crowd. But holy shit, if I wasn't shaken, because I'm like, we're openers. They want to see Method Man and Redman. They want to see Be Real. They want the opening acts. So, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it was the scariest thing I have ever felt in my life, to face that crowd. And so, at one point when I was out here in LA, I actually ended up taking improv classes, because that just always stuck in my head, that like, you've got to be ready. You have got to be ready for everything. So even taking the acting classes was super dope, because it taught me how to, be a little bit more on my toes. And it's something I've luckily, within my personality, I've always been pretty good with. But yeah, that was probably one of the worst experiences. And then, learning out here in LA, certain venues are 420 friendly. So it came to a point I started explaining to, the artists, don't be in your feelings. If they look like they're not enjoying themselves, it's different. They high. They're enjoying themselves. They're just not bouncing around and getting super hyped up. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that I had to learn from my own experience, is that, after the show, the people come up to you telling you how great the show was and how much you enjoyed yourself. And in the back of your head, you're like, fuck, I couldn't tell. You guys were just standing there. But that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, this is all the places you can smoke inside. People are just getting high. Like, they're not bouncing off the walls and stuff like that. So,
That's so
when I
interesting.
was on,
I'd say I would have never actively thought about that, because I'm putting myself in your shoes and I'm like, I want the crowd to be hyped. I want them to laugh at the jokes. I want them to like actually be ready to go. And then I like, for me, I would also be like, this sucks if they weren't that, because that's what you're trying to do, trying to amp them up. You're trying to get them energized. You're trying to get them like riled up. And I think that's part of the anticipation of your job, is like, you're just trying to find that line between like getting annoyed but also getting excited, and you want that, like, the room's about to burst and then they walk out, and then that's when like they see their favorite artist. But like, if you're not getting that because they're like just chilled, it's like, do you guys want to be here, or
and the DJ's worst fear is always clearing the dance floor. No DJ in life ever wants to clear the dance floor when you got, because that's also the difference between, club DJing and tour DJing. The club, it's a very hard job. You've got to keep them dancing all night. The club owner is not going to bring you back. The managers are going to look at you. You're ruining entire people's nights. So, the club side is also completely different. And I mean, I don't really do that much anymore, because I don't have fun doing it, because I don't want to play the music that gets them hyped like that anymore. So unless I'm doing like a dance hall set or something that I also enjoy, I mean, we've all had to do it, weddings and all of that stuff. It's what you get paid the big bucks to do. But now the clubs don't pay DJs enough. So you can't pay me $250 a night to come play fucking trap music all night. I'm not doing it. I don't enjoy it, and it doesn't pay my bills. So, it's different now too. And that's another reason touring and shows and stuff like that are a lot more fun, because I'm so passionate about it that it makes it a lot easier. Like, when I was on tour with Benny for the Butcher Coming tour, that was a big thing. I ended up having to teach one of the promoters one time, because I wasn't booked to be the DJ. I'm literally just DJing for Benny, like Benny and 38 Special. So once you see DJ Beanz come to the stage, it's that time. It's time for, the headliner or whatever. So it came to a point, and the promoter came downstairs and he's freaking out and he's like, Beanz, the fucking DJ sucks. I need you. And he's like yelling at me. And I was like, yo, first of all, that's not my problem. I was like, but because we're all on this together and I want it to look good, I'm going to do this. I said, but you have to understand how this is going to fuck a lot of shit up. Because first of all, they're going to see me come out and they're going to think it's time for Benny. So you're making my job a lot harder right now. Because on top of that, I'm in show mode, thinking about Benny's set and stuff like that. I think I'm not even going to name the people that were there that night, because I don't want to call out the promoter and shit. But the bottom line was DJ Beanz to the rescue. But of course, I now have to come out and ease the crowd who's pissed off because the DJ's playing some fucking weird shit. Who knows? Like, do you know this is a hip hop show, bro? Like, I don't know what you playing. But so I had to go up there and I had to entertain. And luckily, I just pulled out, I think I played like my Wu-Tang set or something. It's just a routine that I knew I had down that, would be dope to get it hyped up before people came on. But I mean, then I also end up DJing for like some of the opening acts and stuff like that, which I normally wouldn't have been doing. But it was great. It was a dope show. I did what I had to do to bring that energy back up. You know what I'm saying? But that's why somebody for me going on tour with like Benny and stuff, we had such great vibes because I'm the one that's out there making the crowd go before everybody's coming out. You know what I mean? Like I make sure the crowd is hyped before I bring the artist out. So that's not something all DJs do. DJs have different skill sets. Like, some DJs can come out there and scratch with their face, and that's how they're going to get the crowd hyped. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm more of a blender and I'm more of a personality, and it's my style is different. I can scratch and stuff, but I'm not like a battle DJ when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, and my apologies. Am I frozen? Because
you were frozen, but your voice kept going, so we heard everything. Okay. For this is what happens when we do it. It's just Zoom's great, but also maybe not the best. But no, it's really good.
Anybody that's following me knows that I have I like to call it an electronic demon that it needs to go. But technology, me and technology have this love-hate relationship. So
well, who knows? Elon might come to the rescue with Starlink, and internet might be 1,000 times better. But I think that's a different conversation. And maybe Elon. Whatever. We'll leave Elon to the side. But do you feel like a lot of DJs starting out, they take, their big mistake is they like their taste in music more than they like the crowd? Like that's what it sounds like. That DJ was more interested in going, I like this shit, and so you're supposed to like it, as opposed to I have a particular audience and I should cater to that audience because that's why they paid to be here.
See, in this case, I think it was like the house person that they had just kind of running the sound and everything like that. So I think that's exactly what it was in this case. He was like, fuck what these people want to hear. I'm here at work. I'm getting paid either way. So I'm going to play what I want to hear. I definitely think that was the case there. And I think this was more of a sound person as opposed to a DJ. So I guess I won't chastise him for that.
Not too much, just enough.
Yeah, just enough. I've let it go, I suppose. He probably don't even work there anymore. But with other DJs starting out though, that's the thing too. I think, I'm a little bit older and stuff like that. So I know when I was younger and I was out DJing like that. So yeah, I am a certified record breaker. Like I know how to put things into the mix where they place well, that you could still play new music and stuff like that, but you do have to be mindful as a DJ. You can't play what you want. If the next song that you had coming up was something you wanted to hear, but this crowd particularly might want to hear something else. So that's where it comes to being different types of DJs and stuff like that. And that's also something I think you learn. A selfish DJ is never going to make it in a club because you can't, you are there for other people. So, you probably, if a DJ is going to do that, they're not going to be invited back to that particular club or to that bar. When it comes to radio and stuff like that, that's also another thing. You have to basically abide by what the stations are telling you to do. So you have to play, a certain playlist. So, different aspects, you're being told what to do. So, for me, that's why I've given up terrestrial radio and I've been with internet radio for so long, because the creative freedom that they give you is what I love. And that's what I feel like my fan base comes to my mixes for, because they know I'm going to play that stuff that is just fire, and they're going to hear some things that they may not have heard before. So if I do a guest DJ spot on a different station, I'm going to what I know that station probably wants to hear, but I'm going to put my touch of my style in it as well. So it might be a little more upbeat. I might be playing some top 40 stuff, but you can bet your ass I'm going to find a way to slide in some, more up-tempo underground stuff. So, people like Rim and Benny and stuff like that, they have that kind of stuff. So I can do that. I can still introduce some of their music into more of a mainstream mix if need be. So
I feel like that's also your job, is like, because there's a reason they asked you to come on. Otherwise, they could get any person to just put the same track list together. But like that unique way of being able to bring your own style, your own personality into the mix that they're looking for is kind of the art, because otherwise you can just go to Spotify and just like put a playlist on and no personality, pre-record any voices that you want to pre-record, and it's the same shit every single day. You could just like get anyone to do it. So I feel like it's a difficult art to master, of balancing that.
It's very true. And that's why for the longest time, you know, when it was really big if you were a DJ and you got put on Swerve Radio back, you know, in the mid 2000s, because this was the biggest hip hop internet station, you know, shoot, I think for consecutive years, it was like number 3 in the world. And I know within not too long of me being on there, the owner came to me and asked me to be the PM program director, because heard my mix and was like, I would love for you to be in control of, you know, the PM stuff, because it's all raw and all of that stuff. So then he eventually handed over to me executive program director. So what that put me in place of was I was in charge of all the DJs, and we had DJs around the world. I was in charge of bringing on the new DJs, but I was also in charge of what was going into the 24/7 rotation. So that's where I had to separate myself. And that's where I also know that I'm really good with my ear, because I was able to separate and say, okay, I hate this. This is going to be big. You know, so I would know like this needs to be in rotation, you know, during the AM. And it was dope the way the owner had it set up for me. So it was like a drag and drop process. But, you know, I could put stuff in that was going to be in heavy rotation, and the stuff that was only on at night and certain times and stuff like that. So it was a really dope experience for me, because that's what it was. It was, you know, you never knew what you were going to tune in and hear on Swerve. You hear everything from Drake, you know, at the time, like Meek Mill and stuff like that was like kind of more on the underground side of things. But then you would also hear terminology and acrobatic and stuff like that. So that was a really cool experience for me, because it also comes along with playing in the clubs. You know, at the time, I think I had gone from Northern Virginia to Southern Virginia, back to Boston. So each of these demographics is different. So for instance, I DJ'd Quad Fest at Radford University, and I'll never forget, I did this house party and they just kept feeding me money to keep on going and keep on going. And at the time, I was one of the only DJs that had Lil Wayne a milli. And I will tell you, like, that beat is so high, but at the time it was Lollipop. That fucking song, my God. So that night in particular, they kept on feeding me money to keep on spinning, and it was raining outside. There's people dancing in the rain. At one point, my whole system shut down because Serato was still like kind of new, and I've been DJing for like 10 straight hours. But when I tell you how many times I played Lollipop, these college girls, we want to hear Lollipop. We want to hear Lollipop. And of course, you got to make the college girls happy. I mean, I was picking up the mic like, if somebody doesn't bring me Jello shots, like. So at one point, after I had played Lollipop about, it had to have been a good like 20 something times, I tried to break a milli. And now the guys around the table stop bugging out. They're like, yo, what is this? And they're, you know, they're bugging out. And here come the girls. We want to hear Lollipop. I'm like, oh my God. So, you know, of course I didn't try to break a milli again that night. But, man, listen, if that's the girls are dancing, the girls are happy, the boys are happy. So, you know, Lollipop. God damn it. But good work, Lil Wayne. Apparently that was the one.
Well, that's so true. It's like, because the guys come for the girls. Like, let's be honest. So if the girls are happy, the guys, even if the music is not good, they're like, all right, we'll stick it out because there are girls here. You know, they're not going to be like.
But you got to keep the girls there. So you got to be playing what the girls want to hear. You know what I mean? So, oh, boy.
Do you know, when you mentioned weddings, I feel like weddings would be the worst to do. Because, like, I've been to a few weddings and some of them are really good and some of them are so shit. And the problem is that they're not there to, like, and I mean shit because, like, the band sucks or they haven't read the crowd right or they booked the wrong person. I went to a wedding once and they just booked, like, and it's like Euro, like Russian wedding and, like, South Africans and, like, but it was like an Aussie band and they played Aussie music and every Russian in the room was like, what the fuck is this?
What is
Every single one. And like there's just like anthems you have to play. Like you have to play Mr. Saxo Beat. That's gonna get them all pumped. But like you just gotta know the crowd. But like I feel like that's such a hard thing to do a wedding because you have such a mix of demographics. You got like kids, you got older people, and there's people who want to slow dance, and then there's people who just want to party. Like, I'm just talking about it and I'm hating it.
Man. So here's the thing about weddings. I don't know the last time I've done a wedding, and the only fun weddings I ever did were when DJs were getting married and hired me because it's still different. So the best part is about like DJing a DJ's wedding and stuff like that. It depends on who's booking you. And just like you said, it has to be with the crowd, but you get with the bride pretty much beforehand and you know what you're going to be playing. All weddings are the same to an extent where you got to play some Prince, you got to play some line stepping, you got to play, the Cupid shuffle and all those kind of shits. And, every wedding has that. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of depends on what it comes down to the demographic. And that's a thing. You kind of know when you get into it, but the weddings were paying the big bucks. So that's why I didn't give a fuck. I would ask, do you guys want me to bring turntables or is this, because a lot of times I just have to bring my mixer and my computer. You know what I mean? The only time I'm bringing turntables out is if it's for, a music loving bride and groom, basically. But yeah, it's really, weddings are so much different. Believe it or not, I used to do proms too, stuff like
Really?
that. And those were the gigs that you wanted. Those were the big paying jobs, the 4-digit jobs and stuff like that. So and believe it or not, as miserable as they were, they're the easiest ones because they're not there to hear you scratch. They're not here to hear your transitions. They're there to dance, drink, and have a good time. Not in the proms, obviously. Not drinking publicly anyway, but with the weddings. So that, you end up having to deal with drunk relatives. You can't pull the whole no request thing because you're being paid to be there. So shit, I had to wear a tux a few times for weddings and stuff like that. So they're definitely not the funnest, but they definitely were the bill payers back then. So yeah.
These days, not
You
anymore.
suck it up for that $1,300 for 6 hours type of shit,
But these days, not anymore. I feel like, these days weddings aren't paying anything. Everyone's on a budget these days. And
nobody is because that's when everything changed for me was when it transitioned over to the iPod DJs. So, I very easily back in the day could easily get $500 to be the DJ for the last part of the last 3 hours in the night to go until 2 a.m. That was nothing to ask for what, I was worth. And then it started coming to a point where this is where the competition came because now you got the fucking iPods that you can plug in and have a playlist. So the iPod DJ game, even before the controllers and everything were happening, but it was starting with the CDJs and all that. So, we've got our super expensive Technique 1200s. I was stubborn. I was a stubborn little dinosaur bitch. Even recently, up until I upgraded to my Serato ready mixer because it came to a point that other DJs are like, fuck, Beanz is mixing. We got to bring our own mixer because her software is outdated and shit like that. So, I had to do it. But I didn't even get Serato until I had to lug crates through a man's bathroom to a ladder that was like on the wall. And I needed like 4 security guards just to help me get 3 of my crates up into the booth that night. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to give in and get this Serato shit, whatever it is. Which was also expensive. But, when all of this stuff got introduced to the game, there's, these younger cats coming in and, they're only charging $100 to DJ for the whole night. And they don't have to bring turntables and they've got the CDJs and, all this software and stuff like that. And so they were undercutting all of us headlining DJs. So it came to a point, it's either like, okay, do you also want to undercut? Do you want to take half of what you're worth? Do you still want to be relevant? What do you want to do now? So it's like, okay, I start taking less than what I'm worth and shit like that. But then it's like, okay, now the promoters and the club owners, everybody's being cheap. Like we can get a DJ for half the price that's going to do the same thing. You know what I mean? And they had all these things like the sync button and stuff like that. So you didn't really have to know how to DJ. You've got the waves in your face and you can see where you're matching snares and stuff like that. And somebody like me who learned on, you know, regular records. So I was bitter, and I'm sure that that held me back a little bit because I was kind of refusing to go with the times because I put in all these years and all this work, and I'm like, these fucking kids are going to come in here and charge a quarter of what we charge and press buttons. Fuck you. So I probably held myself back for a few years when everything was kind of making the turnover because I felt like I was one of the people who went through the trenches. So why should I be getting less? And then it comes to a point that you have to realize, you know, oh, can't do the woe is me thing. Like, it's technology, it's what it is. And people, meaning promoters and all, everybody is in it to make money. So if they're going to get somebody that's cheaper than you and basically do the same job, okay. You know, it's newer days and stuff like that. People aren't coming out looking for DJ Beanz the way they were at the time. So it's like, okay, I can't get 500 a night anymore. So now what? Now what do I do? You know?
So what would you have done looking back? Because obviously, you know, that's not a sustainable model to get paid half of what you're worth. So what would you have done? Let's say that happens again. Let's say new tech, let's say it gets to that point again, they're undercutting. What would you do? How would you just change what you're doing? Because I feel like that's the challenge, is like figuring out how do I adapt and where do I go to still make sure that I get paid what I'm worth.
So I'll be honest with you, it just happened again. I just had to do it. So I'm looking at the floor for those of you who can't see me because I have recently bought a controller. Dun, dun, dun. Everybody who knows me knows how against it I am, but it's different nowadays. It's different. I had to do it. So I had to make the change. So now looking back in the past, that's very hard for me to answer because it's one of those things that, okay, I used to do drum and bass and jungle, and I stopped doing electronic music to follow my passion of hip hop, not knowing that the only DJs in the world that are millionaires are EDM DJs. So I followed my passion my entire career, which has made it a lot harder. Where I'm even in a transition right now, like, okay, I taught myself how to edit videos and build websites and all this other stuff because the art of the DJ is just, it's almost like it's dead. So what am I supposed to fucking do now? Tours got canceled, all these tours. I've had to reevaluate my entire career path. So that's a hard question for me to answer because it would have to be me choosing between money and choosing between the passion. Because me following my passion and doing what I did because I've been so strong in believing in the craft and what, you know, it has been and what it has come to is the reason that I'm the DJ that I am now, where I'm one of the only DJs that's still dropping mixtapes and, you know, just still staying super true to it. And I'm not saying I'm the only DJ, but I'm one of the only ones. So yes, it makes everything a lot harder. But I know that I've stayed true to it and I've followed my passion this whole time. So now looking back, and if I wanted to just stay in it for the money and make a living off of it, I would have stayed in the EDM side of things. And I probably would have gotten CDJs, you know, but that's a really good question because that's really hard for me to answer because like I always say there's so many things had I done differently, things would be so much different, but I wouldn't be who I am. So that's what it comes down to when it comes to who DJ Beanz is now, is all of those maybe fucked up decisions that I made and, you know, decided to stay true to some shit. So, you know, if I could know and have found a balance and been like, I can still be passionate about it, but, you know, let me take the $150 gigs and, you know, throw my controller under my arm and do less of the work. But that's also hard for me because it's like I'm half stepping. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, it's like an internal monologue. It's like you're like, I'm not really doing what I want to be doing. Because I think part of it is also as a DJ, you like what you do. Like, and then when it's taken away from you, the art of it is taken away. You're like, what's the point? It could be anyone up here doing what I'm doing. But I don't know. I feel like, and I am obviously a hip hop head, hence the podcast, but like, there's no reason why you couldn't go into EDM now. There's no reason why you couldn't like start just delving, because you got the skill set already. You've got everything that a DJ would need to be able to do that. So, I mean, and the great thing about being a DJ, you only get really better with time. You only, because you learn more, you understand the sounds. You've seen every generation of music. I mean, hip hop wise, you've seen the evolution and how to mix every type of track together. So I don't see why you wouldn't now even be able to do it.
And that's a very good point. So that's why at this point I've decided to invest and do that, because okay, getting a controller, now seeing DJs that already know what they're doing and have a controller, it's like a toy. It's like a big girl toy now. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay. One of the big reasons is too, is I had an opportunity recently to finish up on a pretty big tour that was going on, but last minute, the equipment seemed to be an issue. So for me, I was like, had I had this controller, I would have said, fuck it. I wouldn't have cared. I would have taken a lower price and just hit the road, because it doesn't matter. No matter where I go, I have what I need, right? That's what made me give in to get the controller, because in this case, it's not so much as me. It's still me getting to do what I love. It's just having to put a little curve on it. You know what I mean? So in that case, it's different. So that's one of the reasons I got it. And then on top of it, that's why I just upgraded all of my equipment and stuff. That's why I want to punch my computer for it being a jerk right now. But it's basically so I can, keep on keeping up with the times at this point. Because if somebody wants to bring me out as DJ Beanz and I'm going to bring my 1200s out, I'll still have my time. Because like you were saying, it's like, if you don't love what you're doing anymore, okay, it's just a job. And in this case, it's like, okay, it's still a job and I should still be blessed. But when it's taking half, if it's making half of what I was making before and I no longer enjoy it, then what the fuck is the point? So that's why I think that's exactly what I'm doing now with the controller and all this other stuff. When I'm about to learn how to start doing, EDM might be exactly where I end up with the stuff that I'm learning and about to take on. So we'll see. But
I feel like you could do some cool shit.
It's never too late.
I feel like you could do some cool shit with like mixing some hip hop feeling into EDM. Like, I feel like that's a world that really hasn't been explored, is like a blend of the genres. Like EDM's not really my thing.
It's actually exactly what I was doing. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just going to tell you. So when I was doing it, jungle and drum and bass, I guess, is comparable now to what they call dubstep, because it was hip hop. It was hip hop and reggae with super hard drums. So EDM was never really my thing either. I was a little bit younger, so might have popped a little ecstasy and stuff to,
to make it easier.
Learning how to be able to deal with that music. But that's why I enjoyed the drum and bass and jungle, because it was hip hop. Like, Aphrodite would do these incredible remixes with like Fugees and stuff like that with really hard drums. So you are absolutely right. So that's exactly it. That side it's not out there like that. When people think EDM, they're just thinking the doom, doom, doom. You know what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and maybe reintroduce what I was introduced to by, learning how to produce. And like the controller I have is dope. I put a whole bunch of research into it. Of course, it took me like 2.5, 3 weeks to pick one. And the one I got is super cheap and it's probably doper than a lot of ones. But these of mixing, hook that up to my regular turntables on top of it. So I'm like, oh my God, this might have really just opened my whole world up. So, back then when I was fighting it, had I taken it on then, I'd be a little bit further. So I guess it's growth.
I also think like hip hop samples, like the best thing about hip hop is, and we talked about, your album Deadly Venoms, but you, like I mentioned it, but you sample a lot of Wu-Tang samples, a lot of soul samples. And there's something in hip hop that I feel like, I don't know, to me, there's something about just a pleasant, older track that you just find just a little bit to cut that just makes the sound. And I feel like other genres haven't utilized that skill set yet. And if you can find the right kind of sample into like those other genres, it'll just elevate everything. I think hip hop, it's a marvel because it's literally the art of finding beats and finding samples and literally figuring out how to cut it together?
I mean, that's definitely the entire foundation of hip hop when it comes down to it is the soul, the jazz, the blues, the so many different samples that just make so many of our favorites come to life. So I agree with that 1,000%. Since I'm not familiar with like current EDM stuff, I obviously have to find a way to dip down into that without doing drugs and exploring and all of that stuff to see what's really being done. Because from what I've seen, you know, with the most of these DJs and EDM producers that are out there hitting the road, they're really, I don't want to say they're not doing too much, because I mean, shit, they are entertaining hundreds and thousands of people, so they're obviously doing something right. But you're exactly what you're saying is kind of what I've had in mind when I'm about to start getting into it. So like with Deadly Venoms, that album, the way it came together was just a pure organic blessing, because, you know, I don't produce now, I'm a curator. So I'm learning how to produce. So the way I'm putting my new album, Queen of the Underground, together is completely different. Now I'm like, you know, I got producers sending me the beat packs, and I'm thinking of the artists that would go great on them. So I'm curating, I'm pairing, and the way I'm doing it with Queen of the Underground is completely different than what I did with Deadly Venoms. With Deadly Venoms, it was actually only a couple of songs that were recorded specifically for the album. This was me not knowing how I would do coming out with my own album if I don't produce. So it was kind of a test run. So, you know, I reached out to, this was more me reaching out to the homies and being like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. What do you got for me? So the way that it fell together so organically, like the husking and Snow Cream, like fell together was just so organic. Like that was just, he was like, you know what, I have this for this, but I want to give it to you for the album. So like with that, the terminology track means so much to me, because he was saving that for one of his albums, because it's one of his own personal favorites. And he was like, nah, I'm going to give it to you to put on the album. So that was an honor to me, but one of my favorite tracks on there. So this is the artist not knowing, you know, who's on it or what I'm doing yet. I didn't know what the hell I was doing yet. So that whole, the way that it came together. So that's why when I started seeing the whole Wu-Tang vibe, and I started getting the clips together and, you know, putting the intro together, that's when the 36 Shots of Venom track came together for me, because, you know, Boo Boo and Ito were both in town, and Ty Farris was in town, and they all wanted to go to Dirty Dig's house to work on something. I was like, oh, this would be dope. 3 dudes, all these bars all the way through, 36 shots of venom, 36 straight bars of fire. So that was one of the songs that was recorded for the album. So it was just, that was another one. It was just super organic the way it came together. So that's how I knew, just the way it came together. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to be doing this, because I've dropped so many mixtapes in my day. I mean, hundreds upon hundreds. And I still love to do that, because they still, whether people want to act like tapes are relevant or not, it's not the same. Like you said, now you got Spotify playlists, and that's how people discover artists. But there's still the collectors, and there's still the people like me that I don't want to listen to a playlist and, you know, hear all the monologues and the ads in between. I want it blended all together. So you have to go back and be like, oh, who the fuck was this? And go look at the playlist to go see who that was. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. Like there's still a piece of me that's still holding on to the past and still trying to do things like that. But I still want to dive into the newer realms of things.
Well, you know, it actually reminds me of, because I interviewed DJ Chubby Chub, who was
God, I love Chubby Chub. That's my guy.
Yeah, so I mean, he was probably number 4, the 4th interview I ever did. So he was really early. So he was, you know, I saw him live because he opened for 50 Cent, or he DJ'd for 50 Cent when he came down to Australia.
Yeah.
But he's on Twitch, and he's doing so well on Twitch. Like I saw he's getting awards on Twitch, and he's just being himself. And I feel like every DJ could do that. Like that's what you have, is like a personality. And so I don't know, it's weird, because the life of a DJ is not what it used to be. There's those parties and stuff like that doesn't exist anymore, but people streaming is there, Patreon is there, and it's like sometimes we just gotta get with the times, but like he's one of those guys who's shown how to do it.
Definitely. So here's my thing. So with my freaking electronic demon, right? So during the pandemic, I was supposed to be on tour with Crooked Eye. I had a whole bunch of underground shows that were being set up. So I ended up having about 3 tours get canceled. So of course it was the whole issue of fuck, how am I gonna get by? So, one of the homies told me get on Twitch. So I couldn't do, and people just didn't fucking believe me when they were like, why don't you do Instagram Live? Why don't you do Facebook Live? And I said, because listen, I get shut down within 15, 30 seconds. Other DJs have been able to get away with it. I have not. So, I've tried to prove to people, finally people started catching on and realized, okay, she's really not lying. Like I try to get on there and I get shut down. So one of the homies said, go on Twitch. So I'm trying for fucking weeks to stream on Twitch. My shit's just not working. I'm troubleshooting everything and come to find out, my laptop is just not compatible. So I have to upgrade everything. So then it comes down to money. Okay. What I ended up doing was I figured out how to upgrade my MacBook myself by spending minimal money and taking tutorials and doing it myself. So as I finally get everything up and going, that's when everybody's already figured it out on Twitch and all the other DJs are already on there doing it. And, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go back on Dash Radio and just do my show as I was doing it. But whole time, I've been sitting here doing what I got to do and finally making money to upgrade everything so I can now stream and I can do all of that stuff now. It looked like for a little bit of time, things were opening back up. That came to a point a couple months back. I had 3 shows in 1 month. So I thought things were back on the up and up, and they're not so much. So I finally did all of my upgrades so I can start doing that. But it's also taking up the time to, it's almost like starting from scratch again. I got to do it for hours on end just to get my followers up on there. So people can start tipping me and doing all of that stuff. So I'm proud of Chubby Chub because he deserves it. That man's been through, he's been through a lot. So I was really excited when 50 brought him back on his DJ again and he started touring again. He deserved that. I was so happy to see it. And I know some other DJs who have gone on Twitch and have shit made $1,000 in a week. So I know I do, but it took all of that time for me to get upgraded just to the point that I had the capabilities to stream like that, because somebody was like, why don't you just do it from your phone? And I'm like, that people can just go on YouTube and listen to music from their phone. Like the quality at least has to be good, because it's got to be a listening experience, whether they're on their laptop or their phone. If they're getting shit quality through a phone, I'm not going to do that. For me, it's like, if I'm going to do something, I always have to do it the best of my abilities. I won't half step anything, because I could have done that. But I was like, how am I going to build a following up like that if they're going to be like, I'm not going to tune into Bean's show. It's going to be her on her phone with shitty sound quality. Like,
and the
I can
weird
just go on Instagram Live and talk to people.
The weird thing is that people still tune in if you're entertaining. That's the weirdest thing, is like, as long as you're entertaining, people don't give a shit. Like, how many people make TikTok videos and it's like the worst angle and the audio sucks balls and it's just horrible and they love that. So like, to me, like, I agree, because I've been upgrading all my shit as well, because like as a podcast, I'm like, you can't sound like you're talking through a potato. Like, you actually got to sound,
right.
And people got to understand what you're saying. But at the same time, people like a grimy feel. So I don't know. I think the hardest part is, and I go through this a lot, is like a bit of pride, is like, because you want to be proud of your work and you want to be like, I want to like what I do and I want to be like, I want to control it. But in the same way as like when you're DJing, you can't control what the crowd likes. So you just got to do it to the crowd. And like, it is what it is. Like, the consumer decides at the end of the day.
See, and you're enlightening me right now, because, now I'm like, damn, I really didn't think about it like that. But I guess it's me, just that's the perfectionist side. I don't even know so much. There's a good friend of mine who keeps on telling me you need to push your ego to the side. I'm like, I don't have an ego. But I guess that's what it really comes down to. Because you're right. Like if people just want to tune in for me or whatever it is, they're going to tune in regardless of the quality. And for me, I'm like, I just want to deliver the best all the time. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I probably could have done it and just been like, okay, so maybe I can't DJ this time, but I can sit here and talk. You know, I didn't really think about it like that. For me, I was just like, I didn't want people to have to sit there and sit through my technical difficulties and, but you're right. If people are going to be entertained, they're going to be entertained. Bottom line.
And that's why they paid you in the first place, to be honest, is not because you're the same as everybody else, but because, and I feel like also being a female DJ in a male dominated industry, especially with so much experience, is something that people would gravitate towards, is like, because to be honest, how many female DJs can people name off the top of their heads? I doubt not many, if any. And then you've got all the male DJs. And so there's a gap. There's always been a gap. And I don't know, I just think there's still some space for you, even though people got onto it first, even though they got there, they've been doing it for a long time. I don't know. I just think there's something there and you won't know unless you try.
Do you want to be my manager?
Do you know what I do want to, I do know my skill set is motivational speaker, honestly.
You already like it's sold, okay? Sold. Listen, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I can't argue with you. Yeah, like you have me. I was before I got on here. I was like, all right, this is what I have to do today. Now I'm like, damn, maybe I should just randomly go on Twitch today.
The thing,
that's why I'm frustrated with my laptop issues because I usually have my mic set up and everything, but both of my USB by now, and I'm wondering why I'm having issues over here. But I have this whole beautiful PC over there that I can definitely stream on Twitch with. So,
well, what you could do is you do a shout out on your Instagram. You do an Instagram live, and you go, "Hey, I'm going to be on Twitch, and I'm going to do a set. Anyone? Here's the link. I'm going to be on Twitch at this time. Tune in." And you can, I don't know, I feel like you got an audience. They'll just funnel them in.
And you know what's crazy at this point too is that whatever Instagram is doing now. So, I've always, like I said, I've had technical issues all the time. Everything that I do takes 50 to 60 extra steps for me because, I have to stop saying it. Maybe I'm dragging this into my universe by constantly saying about my technical issues. But I'm doing everything to fix that. But now that Instagram is monetized, so like somebody like me, I now have the capabilities of badges. So, people can buy a badge, and I guess it's the same thing as tipping or whatever. So Instagram doesn't take a portion of it, but like PayPal or whoever pays you out does. So basically now Instagram is able to monetize and I'm able to monetize. So I realize now when I go on my Instagram live, I can play music and stuff and I don't get shut down. So the last time I was on there, I wasn't DJing, but it did hit me with, okay, you've reached the limit to how much you can play. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, there's limitations, but I can do that. I can get on Instagram live, get my people to come in and be like, all right, we're taking it to Twitch. Here's the link. Like you said, I'll put it up in my story or whatever. But I did set a Twitch up for that and started building up a little audience. And then as I was doing all of my upgrades, I dropped the ball.
We all do, honestly.
That's what it really is. You're right. And I appreciate you putting it into that perspective for me because I really like I said, that's the perfectionist side of me where I'm thinking more along the lines of, hey, this is what I think the fans want. But no, the fans are going to determine what they want. They're going to tell me. They're going to be like, hey, you sound like shit. Send us a notification when it sounds better, or they're going to stick out the technical difficulties and they're going to enjoy it. And, like you said, I am a personality, so they'd probably thoroughly enjoy me, watch me go through my technical difficulties and watch me call my equipment a cunt and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right.
100% they would. 100%. They love unfiltered. They don't want fake. And I'm sure you'll definitely have the thing is you wanting the music that you like and being able to mix it your way. You'll have people who want that music as well. Like you can't be the only one on the planet who's like, I only want this.
I always say that. because you know, if I like something, that means if I feel a certain way about it, there's millions of other people that do too. They just need to hear it. So you're 1000% right, because that's why I was saying earlier, when it comes down to the creative freedom, is that yes, I'm hearing stuff that I think is dope, but that's because I know all these other people are going to think it's dope too. There's going to be people who don't. But just like you said, I'm not going to be the only one. If I like it, there's millions of others. It's just a way to get it out there. So if I get on Twitch and only 15 or 20 people came through, but 5 of those people heard something that they've never heard before, if 2 of those people or 1 of those people, I've done my job and I'm fulfilled. It's very true.
And you can practice, but like, because I'm sure there are things you want to practice, and I'm sure we're all the same in the sense that people may look at you and go, oh, her skill set is perfect. But I know that every artist looks at their skill set and goes, I want to do this better, or I want to do that better. And so if you're going to practice it, you might as well do it live, or you might as well practice with an audience. I don't know. I think that, yeah, I just think for you, you could definitely do it. Like, I'm talking to you and I'm like, damn, I can see why people would be engaged. I can see why people would want to come back. I can see why people would, because you're just unfiltered, and people don't want filtered anymore. People don't want brands. We get sold brand shit all the time. We just want to hear people, and we want to hear them talk however they talk. And that's why, like, people like characters. That's why we just like the interesting shit. And there's like, it's also those people you meet where you're like, I fucking kind of hate you, but I kind of love you at the same time. That's
me.
Yeah. Like, I hate that I like you so much. It's like, but you can play into that because it's like, you are almost everything that people want to be, in the sense that you will say cunt, and you will say fuck you, and you will say whatever you want to say. And that, but people don't feel like they can say it, and that's like they're out. I don't know. I just think it's a cool kind of branding thing that you got going.
Well, first of all, I appreciate all of that very much. Thank you. And I definitely don't have a filter, and believe it or not, throughout the years, I have had to dumb it down a little bit, because I'm crazy, that's for sure. But I do appreciate that, and that's why I feel like I'm one of those people that people want to hate so bad. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they're just kind of like, yeah, damn, though, I can't. At the same time, there's a lot of people that probably do hate me for it, but it's okay. It's what it is.
I
But
think they hate you because not because they don't like you, and I think a lot of haters go through this, and it's because you're the success they wish they were. That's where I legitimately think a lot of haters come from, is not because they dislike you, but because they see in you their own potential, or it's now gone for them, and you remind them of themselves, and then they don't like that. And I feel like that's a lot of people out there, is like they never went for it, or they couldn't go for it, and now they're jealous. And so the way they let it out is by saying they just don't like you or whoever else they don't like.
yeah, I thoroughly agree with that. And trust me, if I could tell you the things that go on in the background of things, and the slander and the lies that people will say about me, just because coming from grown men. And the thing is, when it comes down to it, it's intimidation. Or that's what it is. It might be something that, you know, they don't like that I did, or whatever. The hate always comes from, you know, like it's malice. So at the end of the day, it comes from a spot within people that they're not happy with. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how much hate comes from intimidation by, you know, grown ass male DJs that I know, like, I know that they might have better skill sets than me, and I'll even publicly go for them and admit that. But they're intimidated because I'm not afraid to get up and ask for something, and to introduce myself to somebody. And I'm not kissing ass, and I'm not in the room acting like a different person because there's a famous person in the room and shit like that. So people hate that about me. You know, I don't kiss ass, and I don't need to. People are gonna fuck with me, and they're not. And that's why I also think there's a lot of people who in the background fuck with me heavy, but publicly they won't, because there's so many people that have, you know, so much bullshit to say behind my back. It's like, okay, well, you know, well, then I've sat there and I've talked, I've listened to the shit, whatever. So I can't sit here and give her all this love publicly, but in real life and in the background of things, it's all love. I deal with that shit on a daily basis. And it's my own fault because as much of a bitch as I am, I'm super soft. So like when I, have faith in an artist or I see something in them, I give them too much. You know what I mean? I help too many people, and I put way too many people first. So at the end of the day, a lot of the people that hate me are people that just don't have access to me anymore too. You know what I mean? They've drained everything that they could. When at the end of the day, I'm probably one of the most fucking awesome people that you could have in your corner. So, fuck the opportunists and people that have burned that bridge, because I'm always all love. But at the end of the day, it's fuck you at this point, because I've gone through it enough. I have so many low-key haters. That's why it sucks. Like right now, this is something I've been big on lately, is I don't want to make announcements about an announcement, but I do have some really dope shit that's happening, which is another reason I've been semi more quiet than I usually am with my loud self. And it's mainly because of those haters, exactly that you're talking about, because I don't want anybody's negative energy on anything that I do. So it's sad that I can't even discuss shit that I have, coming up, just because so many people hate so hard in the background of things, and then I think it's a mix of everything. Like we were just saying, it's people that either weren't brave enough to go and do what I've done, or have wanted to be in the position that I was in, and they think I got it because I was a female. No, maybe it's because I'm a female, but I have a certain personality about me. So, it's not my fault that somebody doesn't have the balls to get up and get it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what has to be done.
In hip hop, no one got shit because they were female. No one got. You speak to any female artist and they know it is rough. It is such a rough industry, and because of the roots of the industry comes from, poverty. It comes from a lack of expression. It comes from, a time and a feeling where it was like dog eat dog world. So no one's getting like the cherry picked out just because of being a female. That doesn't happen. Especially, it definitely didn't happen 20 years ago when you started. It 100% didn't happen.
Certainly didn't.
Like you look at all the female artists, I look at Lauryn Hill, what happened with her career. She is one of the great talents in hip hop ever, and she released one solo album in her whole career. There's a reason for
Insane. That's why, and trust, we are given plenty of opportunities to make, be put in position and stuff like that. That happens. So whether you fucking bite the apple is up to you. You know what I'm saying? But the majority of these women out here, we have to go through so much more being females and earning the respect that we have. And trust me, like this is an industry where men will tell you not to do something because they're gonna take your fucking idea and run with it. So, the female empowerment in this shit, like a lot more of us need to unite. And I see it a lot. Like there's a lot of female artists out there and, producers and stuff like that. Like we're definitely uniting and we can do a lot more damage together. You know what I'm saying? But this is the shit that we have to battle. Nothing's ever been handed to me because I was a female. Now I'm not going to act like I know I'm not ugly. So I know there's probably been opportunities that I may have been presented for. Yes, maybe but I still had to earn them. My skills or whatever it was still had to get me that position. You know what I mean? Just because you got a pretty face and shit like that, it doesn't mean that you can, it ends up being more of a perk to whoever you're working with, that you end up being a female that can grab that attention and then have the skill set as well. But, no position has ever, being a female has been more of a challenge than a benefit in this industry, without a doubt.
Well, I mean, you can see it right now. What are the biggest hip hop acts, women, what do they have to do? And you see that it's sex appeal right now. And I understand it's also about like female empowerment and taking control back. But at the same time, I look at that and I'm like, you don't see dudes having to do that. You don't see a guy having to twerk on stage. And I get it. And it is empowering to be able to control it. But at the same time, equality really hits when you have a female artist who doesn't dress sexy, who just raps bars. Like, I think Rhapsody has spoken about this before, where she is one of those people who's leading the way in terms of going, hey, I'm not dressing sexy, I'm not twerking on stage, you can like me for my bars or for my art, and that's it. And that's, to me, where the actual equality comes from. And then you should be able to have everyone on the spectrum in terms of mainstream, not just like the artists who are going to shake their ass, and then everybody else is not there. That doesn't really count to me, because we don't have just one male artist out there. We got all the spectrum of male artists, so you got to have all the spectrum of female artists. I think there's like a false equivalency at the moment.
I definitely, I agree with that. It's like, where are you supposed to find the happy medium there? You know, I'll give it to, again, shout out to Hus Kingpin, because he's one of them. He kept telling me, like, Beans, what's with the fucking, you're constantly wearing a hoodie and wearing a hat. Like, I used to model back in the day. So when I used to DJ, I used to DJ for 10, 11 hours in stilettos and fly ass outfits. And it came to a point for me that I wanted people to recognize me for my DJ skills and all of that stuff. So I was depriving myself of the fun part of being a woman, because I just wanted people to respect me. And when it comes down to it, they're going to respect me. They're not, regardless. So, you know, I'm back to, you know, dress and fly when I want to and stuff like that, because at this point, I mean, I'm getting older, so I want to fucking enjoy being able to wear what I want and all that stuff. People are going to view me how the fuck they're going to view me. Now you've got people like Shay Noor is a perfect example. She's gorgeous. She doesn't need to twerk, and she doesn't need to drop it like it's hot to grab attention, but she can get dressed up if she wants to. And you know what I'm saying? But she didn't need to do any of that to grab attention, because she's one of the best MCs out. She's not one of the best female artists out. She's one of the best MCs out, hands fucking down. Production wise, she's getting doper and doper. You know what I'm saying? Men can't fucking see her on the mic right now. So what are they? They can't argue. You know what I mean? So that they're not going to deny her either, are they? Because she's dope as fuck. You cannot deny her skills. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, so right now,
point.
Like
it's
rap
the choice.
me. Right. So, and then what if one day, 5-6 years down the fucking line, Shay comes out and decides to fucking drop it in some knee-high boots real quick? You know how fucking crazy that's gonna be to go down in history? But like you said, it's her choice. And you know what I'm saying? So to me, like, you know, when everybody's always talking about Rhapsody and stuff like that, I think Shay is going to be the person to take that torch and carry it on and show that, you know, this is how it can be. You can still be beautiful and be known for your talent. And you know what? It's gonna be harder for Shay because she's not twerking. But
well, you know,
the people that are hearing her are hearing her.
Funnily enough, we actually reviewed this podcast started as a review podcast, and we reviewed both Rhapsody and Shay Noir on the podcast in terms of their albums. And we also did Lauryn Hill's as well. But that's how it started. We did like an all female round. But yeah, it was just so. But like, it is interesting because sometimes I think when we see the top artists, we think that it's like leveling out. But in reality, what you got to see is like, where are the underground artists coming from? Like, is it just the top artist, or is there a middle act where there's like, you know, and I feel like that's where the work needs to come into, is like encouraging more people. And it's happening because you have more female artists coming through, but it still is really male dominated. And obviously because hip hop is it's a sport, and it's competition, and it's dog eat dog. And it's like, sometimes it's intimidating and it's scary. Cause like, fuck, I personally don't want to be a rapper. Like, fuck that shit. Like, I like talking about it. Like, but I know, number one, I don't have the skill set, but I also know, number two, it's just like, I love it, but I wouldn't want to do it because it is so difficult.
And that's the thing too. So you gotta give people that credit, because it's like, okay, this is something that so many people see and they glamorize and they want to be a part of, but you don't understand, like, once you've made it to that level that you've been trying to reach, it's a completely different life. You're now an entertainer 24/7. You know what I'm saying? You can't be seen out in public pissing on a corner. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether it's in the underground or not. You know what I mean? Like look at Griselda and stuff like that now. You know what I mean? Like I look at Rome streets and shit like that, and China streets. That's when I think of MCs. You know what I'm saying? China's another one that comes to my mind when it has to come to all this bullshit. So she has to deal with living in the shadow of Rome, where, you know what I'm saying? Like she's built her own name for herself, but it's the same shit. Now when they go out in public, now anytime somebody wants to give China some praise, they can't leave Rome's name the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? So that shit is, it ends up being a struggle, like the success and the happiness that comes with it and all that shit. I thought to myself that shit the other day when I was putting some stuff together, and I said, fuck, man, sometimes I wish I just stayed a fan, because my God, like the feeling I used to be able to get, you know, going to these shows, and then when you get to meet these artists, and now I'm like, I don't want to fucking meet people in real life anymore. Like I want to sit here and play their music and love them and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard not to just be engulfed in it, because when this is what you do all the time, that's who you're dealing with. And you have to see there's so many politics within stuff. You have to understand sometimes when, okay, not you with them. That's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that, oh, this person's gonna make it big and they're gonna bring me on and shit like that. No, honey, you don't come as a package deal. So especially me being a DJ, I can't tell you how many people I've DJ'd for, and then, you know, whatever, they succeed and they blow up or whatever it may be, and then DJ Beanz is in the dust. Well, sometimes you can, DJs are a little bit different. You can take your DJ with you, but when it comes to other levels of stuff, you know what I mean? It's not like that. They now have a completely different life that they have to entertain if they want that money to keep on coming in. So, you know what I'm saying? Like some people just end up getting left in the dust, and it's like you have to be okay with it if you want to see that person succeed. Not everybody can fight for you as well. This shit is a filthy, dirty fucking industry, and it is not easy if you want to live big. If you don't end up having to, you know, to make it independently and do it like that, it has been a blessing amongst the underground at this point, that people can eat off of their shit, because it is easier for us to be able to do things independently, like drop albums and have 100% of the sales and shit like that. But there's still, like, people still like to blacklist and all that kind of little shit that goes on in the background. So it's like you can only do that but so far in the underground, but you have to work really hard to make it passionately in the underground side of things. So then once you do hit that level, like you said, it's something that not everybody was built for, and not everybody can entertain, because there's so much other bullshit that comes along with it. Like you see these artists living big and shit like that. Well, it's not all fucking glitz and glamour. You got to deal with all the bullshit around it. You can't go have a discussion with somebody off in the corner without somebody taking a picture and being like, oh, so-and-so seen together. And then boom, here come all the rumors, people assuming shit, when they really just walked by each other and dapped each other up and wanted to be like, dope album, and y'all want to stop rumors. Like, and especially with the digital age, it's so much worse now. Nothing is private.
I feel like I'd like
Social
it for
media
12
is
months.
going to snitch on you. You cannot lie, but for so long. Social media is going to snitch.
See, I think I'd like it for like 12 months to be that famous, just for a year. Give me a taste. Let me, let me enjoy the fame. Let me walk down the street.
Too. That's the thing too. You might not be able to just have a taste, because you're going to
true.
want the high that comes along with it, but you don't want to put that fucking needle in your arm. You know what I'm saying? But hey, if you want to enjoy all of this shit, there's other stuff that comes with it. So then you get that one little taste, and now, okay, but now I don't want to go out and people don't give me free shit everywhere I go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
To be honest, it's like I just think about Drake's life, and I'm like, man, it'd be great to be like Drake's life just for a bit, because I think I'd get annoyed, because, to be honest, Drake can't do the shit that I can do. And I'm not saying in the sense that of talent wise, like I can go and get a haircut like a normal fucking person. He has to have a barber go to their house. And I actually like going to a barber, and I like that experience, and I like being able to go out to dinner. But like for 12 months, I think I could handle it. Just be like, hell yeah, I love the attention, get my ego stroked. But you're right. I also know that if it disappeared like literally the next day, like it'll be 365 days on 366, it's all over. I don't think I would handle it very well.
That's what I'm saying. Look, it's bittersweet, everything about it. Like I've seen every side of the industry. You know what I'm saying? And I know what it's like. And it's like, you have to decide, do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be fucking rich when it really comes down to it? And there's still ways to be rich, but privacy is a privilege, and it's something that you give away when you are really that big in the limelight. Like, when can you just live? And yes, there's ways around all of this stuff, but like I said, it's bittersweet. It's kind of this. It's not really much of a in between when it comes down to it. Like, do you want to be able to go out to eat somewhere and not comb your fucking hair? Do you want to be able to walk through the mall and have a conversation on your phone because you stressed out and you've just been crying? You don't want to do your makeup that day. You don't want to comb your hair. No, you have to, because then you're a fucking meme for 52 years.
But I think you might get paid off a meme. So, positive.
I mean, that's what you want. Yeah, I don't even know how that works. I'm not famous. So I know I got gifts on Twitter and shit like that. So like, I'm kind of like, but nah.
But it's like 50. All after he did the Super Bowl, everyone was like, oh man, 50's fat. But then he saw all, and he reposted them. He like, you can actually ride the wave. I feel like 50 is actually amazing at riding the wave of anything that happens in his life. He just rides it. And it's like, if this is giving me attention, I'm going to repost that shit and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to just go with it. But like those memes
he's a rare motherfucker. 50 is rare. He's one of the best ever. I love him, but you're right. Like I think 50 is like a perfect example of somebody who's got that balance, because people are scared of him. So at the same time, it's like he can live a certain extent that he wants to, because it's going to be fuck you. And you don't want 50 on your bad side. So, and that's it too. You have to, no pun intended, but you have to have a thick skin. You know what I'm saying? We all go through it. Shit, I'll never forget when I was still kind of in the peak of my career and I got super sick and they kept putting me on steroids. So I went from being a model to like blowing up. And the first time I saw myself on a red carpet, I was just like, I was depressed. Shit, I didn't come out in public for like over a year and I wasn't even famous. You know what I mean? I was just known. So, it's just
these days being jacked is the shit. Everyone, the stick figure model doesn't exist anymore. Everyone wants to have the dump truck, as they say. On
right.
They want that ass. They want like thick legs. That's like the new, which is so much better, to be honest, than being like super skinny.
I've never wanted to be skinny. Like I've always had meat on my bones. When I was a model, I'm short. So I was a print model, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like I worked out really hard so I could still eat what I wanted and shit like that. And like nowadays, I work out and stuff like that. And luckily the food that I like to eat is healthier. So luckily, but I still got to put an effort in, but I don't want a six pack. I don't want to be super skinny. I just want to be able to wear whatever I want. And if I feel like I'm going to let my gut hang, it's only just a little gut, So, I'm a little bit older, things have slowed down, but yeah, I'll never have a dump truck. Look, when I work out, even I got a little bubble. I was blessed in the front, but nowadays I was like, when the thick thighs and all everybody being thick came back, I was like, okay, well, I'm good. I mean, I'm not built like that. So
you just gotta, you work with what you got at the end of the day. You work with what you got.
I got my little booty bands that I be working out in, but it doesn't matter nowadays anyway. You see, everything's Zoom. So, it's just for myself anyway, all the time. But yeah. I've never been a stick figure. And I'll never forget, even when I was like my thinnest, I used to have, because I used to bartend and DJ. So it was really dope. The bar that I worked at, I had these regulars and the wife would always come and like press on my collarbones and say, you need to eat something. You're too skinny. And I'd be like, girl, I'm fine. Like my stomach, there's always a little softness in there. But it's crazy how women view ourselves, because I look at pictures of myself then. And I was like, I used to really look in the mirror and say, ew, you're fat. And I was thin. You know what I mean? My dad was a bodybuilder, runs in my family. So even if I think I was to get skinny, I could never be skinny like that. It's not my structure. I don't have that. So, but even then I'm just like, how did I look at myself and think I was fat? It's crazy how us women think.
Not only women, it's us men too. Trust me, it is.
You do? You have to ask yourself, like, do I look fat in these jeans?
All the time. Because I want to lose some weight, and I've been like, I'm working out a lot, and even still, like I'm at the gym and I'm like, I still got a lot more work to do. And the people who I'm there with, they're like, no, man, you're looking better. Like you're looking, and I'm like, I'm still a fat shit. Like that, but it's an internal model. And to be fair, I know myself. I got to be like, you look like shit if I'm going to keep working. As soon as I'm like, you look good, I'm going to start eating trash again. I'm going to just blow up again. And then I'm going to have, like, that's my cycle of like, I look good and then I stop. And so now I'm really focusing on
somebody still has to stroke your ego from time to time and be like, nah, you still have to know. Because if you're not seeing the progress, somebody else got to see it.
That's true. Look, I'd rather if women told me personally rather than my male friends, but I'll take it. Some.
You might have to get on your Instagram and like get up there because I can your neck up. I can't compliment you. Have a beautiful beard. I can tell you that much. And you do not look like a fat shit by any means to me. Just so you know.
It's just the gut. It's weird. It's like it's the belly. The belly is like where I gain. Like I smell a burger and it goes to my belly, but my legs, my arms, like it's this trouble spot. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think we're all a work in progress. I think it's the same.
Agreed.
Like we all want to get better, and like I've started running again and like just doing all these things, and I don't know. We all go through it. I think we're all just
exactly. And like you said, it's work in progress. Something's better than nothing, first of all. And I'm always big on making your best better. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to be perfect, but get to where you want to be happy. Because for me, I'm actually the exact opposite. If I don't see progress in myself, that's when I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to eat that burger. But for me, if I'm like, ooh, this dress fits me, it didn't fit a couple of weeks ago, I'm gonna eat this salad. So I end up I end up staying more motivated. Like I'm more driven by love and shit nowadays, as opposed to back in the day, it was, somebody hates on me, oh, I'm gonna get up and do 14 mixtapes. Now I'm like, it's somebody giving me praise or telling me that I've done something for them that makes me get up and be like, oh, I gotta go be the best. As far as taking care of my body and stuff like that, that has been, I've definitely been doing that more. That's been a blessing with the whole panoramic when it comes down to it, with, getting into better routines with taking care of myself. I know that was hard to do. And as women, I'll tell you, I don't know about men, but women, when we get stressed out, stress is held in fat cells right in our guts. So if we're stressed out, you can have a great body and be eating right, and it don't matter. You can have a little bit of right down there because, lucky for us. So, the way times have been, it's really hard to take care of yourself. And not like for me, I still can't go back to the gym because I can't wear a mask while I'm working out. I have super sensitive sinuses, my skin. So not only do I'll start to be sneezing inside of my mask. I just can't. So, I'm limited out of this little park, and, I do what I can, but for me, I'm more motivated to work out when I have equipment and stuff like that. So it's been, I've gotten back into it recently with doing like my weight training and stuff like that from home, but it's hard with everything that's been going on. It's harder. It's a lot easier to sit around and eat food and do nothing. It's easier to find comfort in those kind of things, so it's not easy. So the fact that you're even out there taking care of yourself right there alone, you should give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, call yourself a fat shit if that's going to keep you motivated.
It will, because I'm a competitive person. I need to compete with people. That's just how I need to. That's how I'm wired. So if I see someone look in better shape at the gym, I'm like, fuck, I can't be a bitch on this set. I gotta. It's just, and they won't know, but I know. And I had that feeling yesterday. Literally yesterday, I went and my friend had to go back to the gym and was like, are you gonna be a beast and do the last set? And I'm like, I was tempted not to, but I was like, I got to, because if I don't, then someone else will do their last set and they'll look better. And it's just whatever it is. I just need to, it's honestly, it keeps me going. It's like, it stops me from being lazy.
But that's a silent competition. I'm the same way too. In the back of my mind, I can't lie. There's been certain things that I've done just because I'm like, if I don't fucking do it, this person is going to, and I will be damned if they're going to do it before me. when they know it's my, like, whether they knew it was my idea or not, if I just know, now somebody else is going to do this, they can't beat me to it. You know, and I'm the same way. And that's why I think it's the same thing when I'm at the gym, is I know I just walked in this bitch. First of all, somebody's going to notice if I walk out of here in 10 minutes. So I got to put in at least 45. And I can't just sit in one spot. There's people around here. And exactly that. I think it's the same thing with rappers, with producers and all that stuff. It's like a steel sharpens steel type of situation. So being in constant competition with yourself is how you keep yourself going. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing really. So I'll make bets with people for something that's going to benefit myself. Like, okay, if I don't do this, then you have to air this out on Instagram. You know, like if it comes to like quitting smoking or something like that, like if you see me smoking, then, you know, God forbid. So, you know, you have to go and say this about me on Instagram to save myself from myself sometimes. But that's what it is. It's a competition. Like I can't lose this bet, even though like I forced the bet, I still can't lose it. So
well, yeah, my brother did that to me in October. He said, because he's very fit and he's in great shape, and I hate running. I've always hated running. I feel much better in the water. I used to compete when I was swimming, but he was like,
wait, you froze on my end. Hold on.
Oh, my internet. It's that
Damn it.
All right, I can kind of hear you. I think it was my internet that time, to be honest.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, mine said
Okay.
my internet. You know, I have the demon as well. He's just come through your side and come into mine. So
I'm sorry, I put my demon on you. I can hear you now, though. So can you run that back? So you said your brother is very thin.
No, my brother's in great shape. He's really motivated and he's very fit. But in October last year, he bet me he asked me, my birthday's in July. For my birthday, will you run 10K with me? And I, like an idiot, was like, yes, because I saw it as a challenge. And if someone challenges me, I've got to show you that I can do it. And as soon as I said yes, I hated myself for saying yes. But last Friday, I hit 10K with like 3 months to go. So now I'm like, shit, okay. Now it's just like, I just need to compete everything. Someone needs to challenge me to do anything. And that's how I'm going to do.
Well, congratulations, first of all, because holy shit, I can't run like that. So that's big. So now you have to move on to your next challenge. Now you got to amp it up a little bit.
Now a different friend of mine asked if I'd do a half marathon, and like a moron, I said, fine. And now I hate myself even more.
But you're going to be so in shape. See, running has never been a strong point for me. Like I walked 52 miles, but I can't run for shit. So I got to salute you for that.
It's not fast. It's barely faster than walking, but like if you think I'm doing 5-minute kilometers, there is no chance. It is so goddamn slow and it's so long, and I hate it because it takes forever. Like, that's the problem. Like if I could do it.
That's even better that you're accomplishing that, because to finish something like that that's so grueling that you hate.
Yeah.
It's that competition. You gotta do it.
I can kind of understand how people like it. Like I can understand the mindset. And when it's like, I've had the odd run where it actually feels like you get into a meditative state where it's like you're not thinking about it.
Does the runner's high real?
But like barely for me. When I was swimming, that used to happen when like we were just doing Ks, and then just like your head, it just goes in a different place and your body's like automatic. That was the best feeling ever. I haven't had that feeling when I'm running because every step is like, don't stop. And it's just like a constant, don't stop, don't quit, set like mini goals. But yeah.
But okay, so when you do the half marathon though, what if you experience that like real runner's high?
I don't know.
What if you end up loving it? You might end up loving it.
Yeah, I might end up loving it. And then, realistically, and I hate that I'm even putting this out there, and I'm going to hate myself. As soon as we stop this, I'm going to be like, you're the biggest idiot in the world because you've said this publicly. But I think because I'm a moron, I'm going to be like, I did 21, time to set a new goal. And a half marathon is 21 Ks. And so inevitably, because I'm an idiot, I'm going to be like, should I go for a full marathon? Can I do it? And I don't know. Look, to be honest, right now, I really don't want to because it's just a long time.
But you do because you love the competition with yourself.
I like the contest.
Yes. So you have to have a challenge at all times, clearly.
Yeah.
So get to your half marathon, and then we will revisit this, and I will call you out. I can't call you out unless I challenge myself to do something.
Yeah, see? Now you got to start running. This is how it works. This is how it works.
I don't want to run. I hate running.
That was my attitude. That was exactly it. That was exactly my attitude. Is like, but I hate it.
I did say I need to start getting up early though, and like working out early because I work out late night. Like I work out at ridiculous hours of the night, and I don't think that's smart. So I've been telling myself I need to get up early and work out early.
Yeah,
so maybe I should do that. Maybe I should start taking little runs in the morning.
Yeah, I personally, I'm an early riser. Like I like it. It just makes me feel better. It gives me energy. I'm awake. But then it hits 9:30 and I'm like, all right, I'm done for the day because I've been up since like 5:30 or 6, and it's like, all right, enough. People don't talk to me anymore. I'm ready to just like get in bed.
Yeah, so I got hit with the evil Delta, and I was down. When I tell you down, like when I tell you my energy levels were so scary low, I couldn't figure out what was going on, even like because I was really sick for like, I want to say it was 15 days straight. But then after that, I couldn't get my energy levels up. I couldn't get anything done. If I would try to, like, I've always been a super insomniac. So my sleep schedules are always trash. If I did go to sleep, I'm going to sleep at like 5 a.m. and I'm still popping up by 7 or 8. I'm an early riser too. So I was taking I'd take a mid-afternoon power nap if I was going to sleep. But otherwise it's like anywhere from 24 to 3 days up straight. And I don't go to sleep until I start seeing shit. Cause I'm like, okay, if I don't go to sleep, like I'm not going to get anything done anyway.
Yeah. That internet demon is real at that time.
Oh my God. So so when this shit happened, I started talking to some other people who got sick too, and they were saying the same things. And my best friend's niece is like a nurse and stuff, and she was saying, it could take anywhere from like 3 to 6 months before people gain their energy levels back. So I was like, okay, I started like not beating myself up so bad, and I said, all right, maybe this is just forced rest. So recently now, I finally just in the past few weeks have gotten my energy levels back up to normal, and there would be a couple of days where I would stay up for like 2-3 days, and I could see in myself like, bitch, you looking crazy. Like sleep deprived Beanz is next level. You want to talk about unfiltered? Oh no. If you go watch the last episode I did with Mike Powers, and we were talking about Jim Jones learning how to kiss from his mom, I'm like over the top because that was sleep deprived Beanz. So now I've actually been like doing the whole sleep thing, like kind of normal hours.
It's weird that humans need sleep. It's weird.
Yeah, but the levels of me getting shit done, my productivity has still been just as high, if not higher, than when I was, staying up for days on end. So I'm like, okay, I get it now. Here I am at 41, at 27, just now realizing.
Yeah, you just had your 27th birthday, right?
Yes, thank you.
You're a year younger than me.
Man, don't we look great for our age?
Yeah, I know.
No,
I've looked like this since I was 16, to be honest.
I'm 56. What?
I've looked like this since I was 16.
You got a beard when you were 14, and
I started shaving when I started high school. So what was that, like 13 is when I shaved for the first time, or 12, around there. Yeah. Growing a beard has never been a challenge.
Men in their 30s that can't even get the pubes on their chin, so.
Literally, I'm scared now because I'm finding like white hairs in my beard. And I'm like, oh shit, I got to pull them out.
So that's the thing. I keep my hair braided so much that at this point, if I do have any grays, I wouldn't know. So
I actually wouldn't mind being a silver fox. Like I'm actually looking forward to that stage in my life, but I'm not looking forward to, I just want to be there overnight. Actually, no, I don't. That would scare the shit out of me. Actually, that would scare the shit out of me. If that happened overnight, I think I'd die the next day. Maybe the slow transition is better. I take that back.
Probably. Probably. We don't want you to die of a heart attack before you get to enjoy the Silver Fox stage.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the thing. Men look good with that kind of stuff. I know women can pull off the salt and pepper look too. I'm personally not looking forward to it. You know, the whole being older and having like an actual skincare regimen and shit is like, oh, this is all stuff you're supposed to be worried about your whole life. Like, oh, had I done this
I don't know
years
how
ago?
women do it. Look, my exes, like their regimes are like, I got to put this on. It's like putting another layer of skin on. I've got no idea what the fuck is going on. They're like, I got to do this and do this and do this. And I'm just looking there going, it takes you 45 minutes to go to bed. No wonder you want to go to bed at like 8:30 because it can take you 45 minutes. You need an hour shower. And you need 45 minutes to put your, and to be fair, I couldn't do it any faster if I had to put on all the shit that they put on, because you got to,
Well,
it's
look,
like,
I guarantee you're going to start doing it too, though. I know men, plenty of men do the skincare shit. You just wouldn't even, they're not going to sit there and publicly tell you. Some men will. Just like some men go out and get pedicures and manicures. There's nothing wrong with it. And watch, eventually you're probably going to want to do it too. And listen, when I tell you, now I get it. When I order like skin creams and stuff like that, I see when I order the whole regime from one company, this routine takes about 5 to 10 minutes. It's like they know, okay, don't worry, this isn't, because that's for me. I can't take 45 minutes to put on skin cream and shit. You got to give me the shit that's easy. I'm not fucking paying attention to what way I'm rubbing my skin and doing all this. I don't have time for that shit. I got somewhere to be in a few hours.
You got to let one dry before you put the other one on. Like it's got to soak into your skin. You can't, and I can't go to sleep yet because it's got to like get into your pores before, because otherwise it's just going to be on your pillow. See, I've had these conversations. I listen to when my girlfriends, well, it sounds like I got my exes when they were talking to me. But like, I actually do listen, and it annoys me how much I know about this shit, because they're like, all right, first you got to put you got to wash your face because you got to get the makeup off. Then you got to get the cleanser. You got to cleanse. Oh God, it's like, it's ingrained in me. And I think I'm fighting back because I'm like, I know I will at some point, because I'm going to be like, oh shit, I can see the eyes under my bags, but the bags under my eyes. But
my bags are bigger than my eyes.
But like I think, do you know what it is? As soon as they start doing it, it motivates me to do it. Again, it's like, you're doing it, so I might as well. I'm there. I have to wait for you to go to bed anyway.
But your skin, right, and your skin can't look better than mine either way, whether you're a female or not.
Yeah.
No, that competition. But listen, no, that it's smart that you listen though. That's smart. That's good.
Yeah, I listen. I just don't.
There's nothing wrong with that, because then what are you gonna end up doing? Fighting with your girl all the time because I've told you before why it takes me so long, and you're gonna sit there and be like, why does it take you so long? No, you listen the first time, so you get it. Go play a video game. Go join in the festivities. Put a little cream on the eyes. Do whatever. You know what I'm saying? But at least you know what to expect. You know what they say? Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. Know? Well, first I got to find a wife, and then maybe I'll have a happy life.
Understood.
Yeah.
Can you even go outside and find one right now?
In Melbourne, you can. We got rid of masks for most places. Oh. So head down here, gyms, everything, dance floors. Life is pretty good.
So you can see people's faces now. So it's not like playing roulette.
Yeah. It's because you can't see their faces, so you got to check them out. And so that's maybe that's why I was like, have teeth. Maybe that's why I was like, oh shit, I got to get the body in shape. They can't see my face, so like, got to bring something to the party.
Oh my goodness. Well, we still got masks here in LA County, but they're supposed to be getting rid of that soon. We'll see. I don't care. I just want travel to happen so I can start doing shows again. My God.
Well, yeah, come down to Australia. We're keen for shows.
I want to so bad. Definitely bucket list for me is one of the places I want to go real bad. So, you know, I was hoping Crooked Eye's been really doing like the Crook's Corner stuff and everything. So he hasn't been doing live shows. So I'm just like, my fingers are crossed that when everything opens, they're going to hit him for tours and he's going to be like, all right, Beans, we're going. So I'm hoping, because I know there's a high demand for him down there. So, well,
I would love for him to come down, and no lie, it would be so amazing to have him on the show. That's like one of his, because I've been a big fan of his for a while now. And there's some people I've interviewed where like, I know of you, and then there's he's on for me as the radar is like, not only do I know of you, but I legitimately am a fan of yours. And I would interview you in, like, I don't even know. I can barely speak right now. And I'm just imagining speaking to him. Like that's where I'm at in terms of like, I don't even know where to begin.
You'll get there. You'll definitely get there. He's so humble. He's such a good guy. You'll give him an amazing interview. It'll be, though, should I have to pause stuff like that? Anyway, pause. But you're gonna give him one of the best interviews ever in his life. We're speaking that into existence right now. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, we are.
It's gonna happen.
Well, I only have one more question for you because I feel like we can talk forever. And I always say we do a loose budget on like how long this is going to be, but I feel like literally you and I could be here for like 3 hours. Maybe this should be Twitch. It's just you and I talking for like 5 hours.
I was gonna say drum raid one of these days. I can learn my Twitch while we sit there and talk shit. Maybe we should do that. We'll have to chat and maybe set that up.
We'll organize that. But this is my last question. It's the only question I plan. And do you know what? I actually think this is going to be a hard question for you specifically because you've listened and you choose so much music to curate. But if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of, doesn't have to be hip hop, can be any genre, and obviously can't be your own music, what would you choose?
You know what? It's really hard, but I'm going to say the first album that comes to my mind, just because I can't help it, because it's one of those albums that made me really love an artist. And I am going to go with Ty Farris, Ramen Noodle Nights. And that is because it's the first album that came to my mind when, if I sit here and I would really like go back, I can think of other favorite albums, but to give you a why would be the hard part. With this album, for me, so many people talk so much shit to me because I go so hard for Ty Farris because he's one of my favorite artists, but this is why. So when I listen to his entire catalog, I'm wearing a fucking Ty Farris shirt right now too, which I just noticed, and that was not even done on purpose. But you guys can't see me. So,
no, we can't even see it. So.
Yes.
Damn.
Very random like that, but he has this incredible ear. He's put me on to people like Ka, who is now like my favorite artist and stuff like that. So when you go back and you listen to this music and you listen to this album and you listen to the way it was arranged, if you have an ear for stuff like the mixing and little effects and things like that that's put on it, I just say if you like underground hip hop, especially, Ty Farris Ramen Noodle Nights is such a good album to go to because there's so much versatility in it. So for some reason, when you asked that, it was the first thing that came to my mind. So that's why I'm going to put that out there. It was something that made me become a true fan of his and then go back and listen to the rest of his catalog, knowing that like he mixes his own stuff. I'm very, very big on sequencing and the curation of stuff. And that album is always just something I use as an example when I speak to other artists and stuff like that, to see when it comes down to sequencing and how things are placed. Like, would that album have been so dope to me if he didn't mix things, certain songs the way he did, and just shit like that. So I guess that would be more on somebody on like just a overall music appreciation to go back and listen to that album. But I don't know. There's so many others like in the.
There is.
Yeah, that is a hard.
There is. There's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. That's the thing.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm just like. There's so many albums that when I'm like the ones to listen to in their entirety, to be able to like listen to stuff like that, Yeah.
I get you. And I'm big on album construction as well. It was my catchphrase when we were reviewing albums, is like album construction. But yeah, I think the art of an album is so important when you drop it.
Yep. And that's why this one that I'm working on is taking me so long, because it's, like I said, like the curation process. Just people hear me constantly talk about sequencing, so I'm not going to bore the listeners with that. But, my sequencing process can take weeks sometimes. So I just really appreciate that kind of stuff. And people don't realize how important when it comes down to the mixing and the mastering, like, and if you just put two songs in the wrong place, it can really fuck up how people hear those songs, just because, like, I think one of the things I love about putting mixes together is now sometimes even myself, I'll hear a song and I'll immediately expect to hear a specific song right after it because of how many times I've listened to them go together like that. So it's like, damn, now I want to hear this song. So I think something that has the power of doing that too, to the point where you hear a song and you're like, damn, they put this together so well. I want to go back, and because I automatically in my mind I hear that when I'm listening to it. So I've cursed myself with some of my mixes that I really like, because now I'll be like, damn, I gotta go listen to my mix because now I want to hear all this together. And yeah,
I'm the same.
I
Honestly,
overanalyze every project.
I think we're all the same. I have that feeling where like you hear a song and you're like, I know the next song, and then it's just on a playlist. I'm like, fuck, I need to go back and listen to it. But as I said before, we could talk for hours, and you can see this transitioning into a completely new conversation. So I always hate doing this. I have to like cut it off and control myself, because otherwise I end up with like 8-hour episodes and then no one's listening to that. Or maybe
I was going to say, I know how it is. And as you see, I can talk for hours too. So,
but obviously DJ Beanz, I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate we talked about literally everything under the sun, and please make sure you check her out. Please make sure you follow her on Instagram, on Spotify. When's a new project due to come, by the way?
So singles and videos should hopefully start dropping within the next, I'd say, 4 months. But I'm anticipating the entire album dropping probably the top of next year, just because the way I'm trying to do the rollout. It could possibly come at the end of 2022, but right now I'm anticipating the top of next year. But singles are definitely going to start dropping in the next few months. So
make sure you check them out. I reckon Instagram, Twitter. What's your like preferred these days?
Honestly, I love Twitter because I love having conversations with people. It's a little more personal. So I'm really terrible with checking DMs. I'm trying to get better at that. But my Twitter is holla@Beanz. Just, you're going to have to search for DJ Beanz. That one's a hard one. But DJ_Beanz on Instagram. So I'm definitely on there more than anything. As I said, pleasure coming through. Make sure you give her a follow, and obviously follow the Hip Hop Hustle podcast, because like, yeah, might as well throw myself in there. I mean, if you're listening, you're probably following anyway. But yeah, absolute pleasure. And we'll definitely have to do this again soon. Hell yeah. Thank you for having me. But we're going to have a catch-up show at one point, because I want to see if you end up getting to that whole marathon. Yeah, well, the marathon might be like a 10-year plan. And so maybe we'll make that a longer term plan, but we'll have to speak before 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. No worries. My pleasure.